Welcome to Qdabra's weekly webinar. This is Patrick, and I'm happy to have you here today. We are in the dog days of summer, and does anyone know what that means? It means that the dog constellation is in the morning sky, and that's the constellation Sirius, S-I-R-I-U-S, the same name that they named the radio network after. So definitely a lot of people on vacation today. We have a short audience, a small audience. You're not short. There's only a few of you, and I want to thank you for participating, even though it is the dog days of summer here. We first did this webinar back in July, and we didn't finish it in July. We kind of got started, and today I'm happy to say that we have a final end-to-end demo. And if you want to participate in the demo, please do chat me with your email address, and everyone can play along. I'm going to be showing you the demo from my machine with my cell phone, my smartphone, and it'd be great if you could also participate. Just send me the email for your smartphone. And so to recap, what we're going to show today is a way to authorize, activate, and authenticate users without using a SharePoint login. And the reason why this is a benefit to you is, first of all, it's a pattern. It's a new pattern that we've developed for one of our customers, and it's so interesting that we wanted to share this new pattern with you. It's a design pattern, so it's a set of forms that you can use in your current business processes. So you can apply this technique to any solution that you currently have that uses FormsViewer. That's the only requirement. The reason for doing this is there's several reasons. One is to automate this external activation. If you've got a lot of people that you want to participate in a process, and I could have done this with you if I knew your email addresses. In fact, I will do it in a second. But if you want to include them in a process, you can send them out an email. They can self-activate using their cell phone, their smartphone, and that's better security than using SharePoint login because you get multiple factors of authentication. You get the email, obviously you get the login, which can be a finger or a face, and you get an SMS text code, which also verifies who they are. So there's no passwords to get stolen. It's real-time identification, so it reduces access, and it reduces your licensing costs because you don't actually need a SharePoint login. You don't need a SharePoint account. You can actually include people externally that are not part of your network. So this is very useful for surveys, and we're going to do this in our demo in a minute. We'll show how to do it. You'll be doing the survey. It's a quick 4-question survey, and you'll be doing it on your phone, hopefully. And of course, it streamlines the process for everyone. So there are some reasons why you would not want to use this, but they're really not valid, as you can see with all this green here. If users need email, and email is on 365, in other words, they don't have a private account or an account that you can send them to, but most people do, so that's not a valid reason. If you need to store documents to search them, you can, obviously want to use SharePoint. You can use a form that submits a document, and that works fine externally, but you also have OneDrive and other techniques to store documents. If you need to do reporting and have people access a reporting dashboard, then you would want them to have access to 365. But normally with a report or some kind of metrics, it's probably not something you're going to share with your external users. If you want those users to get some kind of a social feed like Yammer or Microsoft Teams sites, then obviously they're not going to have access to 365, so they're not going to have that. But in general, this solution works really well for other processes, where you don't have social. In addition, if the users need to have some kind of flow, you can actually use our DBXL tool to send the notifications, or you can use Flow or a SharePoint workflow in the back end that does it, and you can integrate that with the solution. Okay, so let's do the demo. So first off, the first thing I need to do is I need to get a list of emails. It looks like some of you have actually sent me your emails, and I appreciate that. So I'm going to actually put your emails. I've got 4 emails. That's great. So I'm going to put your emails into the the tool here and give me 1 minute. We've got a user dashboard tool. So I've added 2 already who are quick on the uptake. And I'm going to add Misty and Lynn as well, and then I'll add myself. And while you're getting these emails, you can actually follow along with me in the demo. And obviously we will take your emails out of the recording, so don't feel like there's going to be any kind of weird email campaigns sent to you as people scan the YouTube channels. Okay, and we'll put Lynn in here too, and we'll be done. And thank you very much for sending me these emails. And when I hit the button here, we should be able to, you will get an activation. I'm going to add myself as well. Now, it's really important that you use the case. One of the limitations of the demo today is that you have to type everything in lowercase. Obviously, we can fix that. We just didn't fix it for the demo. Okay, so I'm sending out these 3 new emails, and we'll refresh the list. And it looks like nobody has activated yet. So let me activate and show you how to do that. So when you get the activation, either on your phone or on your, it takes a minute to come through. And it looks like Azure is activated. So we're going to wait for a second for the email to come through. And it usually takes just a few seconds. Hopefully it's still working. When the email comes through, you'll get an admin notification saying that you need to do something. So let's make sure I got all the emails correct. And it looks like I just got the email. So you'll get an email like this with a link in it. And you can fill this out from your phone. To show you what's happening, I'm going to do it from my computer, and I'll do the last one from my phone, the actual survey. So the first step is to get the users authorized. And the way we do that is we send them an email, and then they type in the email to confirm that they are who they said they were. And you have to type in your email, like I said, in lowercase. And once you confirm, now it's going to text you, it's going to ask you for your phone number. So select the US, and we'll type in the phone number. And this is going to text me a code onto my cell phone that I can enter to activate my account. And this is important because it confirms that the user is associated with that device. If we don't type in the right number and we try to activate it, it will give us a pop-up saying that the number is incorrect. And you'll all get a different number. And once we're activated, now what I can do is I can send email out to you to fill out the survey. So you have to be activated to actually fill out the survey. And I'm going to go back to my emails here and type in the BCC column here. I'll send this link out to you. Thankfully, I already have some of your emails. Okay, so we'll send out this link, and I'll send it to myself as well. Okay, so hopefully some of you have activated. I'm just going to refresh and see. It looks like everyone's activated except Misty. So Misty, you might be busy. No worries. Whenever you want to, that's great. And it looks like Lynn is almost there. Let me just refresh this one more time here. So Lynn's activated. That's great. Okay, so then now once you've activated, you're going to get an email from me. You'll get an email from the system saying you've activated. So just confirming that activation happened. And then you should get an email from me in a moment with the link to fill out the survey. So let's wait for that to come through. And I'm just going to go to my sent items and find the email that you should have received. It's got a link in it, and we're going to open this link on our cell phone. Because you can't see my cell phone, what I'll do is I'll continue using, I'm sorry, Misty, I misspelled your name. Hold on, I'll fix that. Okay, we're just going to add you again. Okay, bear with me here. We'll add Misty one more time. Hopefully I got it right now. So sorry about that. Okay, so once you get the email then from me, you'll click on this link. Now, I recommend opening this from your phone to get the full experience because we've made this form mobile friendly, and this is one of the benefits of FormsViewer is you have this ability to make a responsive design. Now, if you try to open a mobile form on your desktop, it's going to try to use the entire screen real estate. So you can imagine that this is a mobile phone form on your phone, and we'll just make this a little smaller. The first thing it's going to ask you is to enter your email address. And once again, don't forget lowercase for this one because of the limitation in the demo. And then it's going to text you. Once it already knows that you've registered, so it's asking you for the last 4 digits of your phone number. Now, when we store the phone number, we're actually storing it encrypted. Just for greater security, and I'll go over that in a second. And then it's going to text you a new code that you'll enter here to fill out the survey. So every time you log in and use the form, you get a new code. And the survey is a pretty simple survey. We're just going to type in some values here. You can read this if you want. We're basically going over the benefits of FormsViewer and why you would want to use it. Many of you already are. Thank you for that. And you hit submit, and it submits the form. Okay, so that's the form. Now, let's go back to the presentation. So what I did here was I took your email, I added it to our user admin dashboard, and we have a document that you can use to deploy this today. The document actually assumes our dbxl notification. So there's a submit that goes to dbxl. You need dbxl installed to use it as is, but you can also use Microsoft Flow to do this step. And that's not included in this webinar, but we can help you set that up. And then once the users get the email, then they come and they open up the email and they type in their phone number and their email address to verify who they are. And then we're using this third-party Twilio to text the user's phone number to verify that they are who they say they are. And then we encrypt their email. We encrypt their phone number for greater security. Now, the reason why we're encrypting it is essentially it's extra security. It's one more level of security. The encrypted key is actually stored in the form, and it's hard-coded. But because the form cannot be downloaded by our external users, it's a safe mechanism for doing that. And I can look at the form in the designer on my side and change that key if I want to. But right now, it's the encryption isn't necessary. We already have 3 factors of authentication. Why bother encrypting the phone number? But it's just a nice little extra feature that FormsViewer supports for you. The final step then is once they have activated, they can actually go through the process of filling out a form. And this is this user process form. It's a survey. They get a URL, an email. They click on it. They validate who they are by entering their email. If they don't have a specific URL, so you entered your email, you entered the last 4 digits of your phone, and once again, we text you a code that you use to authenticate yourself. So that's a pretty simple process. This is pretty cool stuff. Once again, you need email, obviously. That started in 1980 or thereabouts, probably before that. Internet web pages are important for information sharing. 1995 is about the time when Microsoft got its act together with the internet. We need 2.0 web services to be able to use XML, and the 2.0 web services came on the scene in about 2001. InfoPath was the first client that leveraged those XML web services, and InfoPath is slated to retire in 2025. A lot of people are still using it. FormsViewer is your backup. It's your replacement for InfoPath. That and I'll talk more about FormsViewer in a second. But you need a smartphone, obviously, with that biometric PIN to get that third factor of authentication. We're doing email, once again, the biometric, and lastly, the SMS text. So we actually have 3 forms of authentication. We're not using passwords, so it's a great solution. And then there's some other technologies here that make this whole thing possible. We'll send you the document. Once again, like I said, you need DBXL. This is kind of a gotcha that I realized at the end here before the webinar started. But we can set up flow for you in the same way, so it's not hard to do that. I want to just do a quick call out here to our wonderful wildlife in the Northwest who we've got chipmunks. FormsViewer is not a chipmunk. FormsViewer is basically the whole point of the video was to give you a visual image of basically keeping the investment that you've already made. So squirrels and chipmunks, they will hide nuts and look for them, and the nuts will become forests, obviously. So there's a wonderful little ecology around that. But the benefit here is Microsoft gave you all of these wonderful tools, and you develop these solutions and you plant all these seeds, and now Microsoft is taking away the forest in 2025. But we have given you an option to keep your forest, and that's called FormsViewer, because you don't need to change your existing investments. You can use them as is. It's very minimal. It's zero to minimal effort, and that means it's the lowest cost. So there's no licensing fees if you're on-prem. If you're online, there's a small licensing fee because we have to pay Microsoft for the processing. You get new features. You get our support, which is worth signing up alone. And that's the little plug for FormsViewer. So that's it for the demo today. Hopefully you're able to fill it out. Let's take a look and see who is able to actually fill out the survey before I answer questions. I'm going to go to our FormsViewer survey library and do a refresh. And we'll see those surveys coming in, hopefully, by a few of you. As part of the process of submitting, the forms get submitted to our SharePoint site. And you're an external user, so even though you're external, you can see that Mark and Misty have submitted theirs. Thank you very much. And you can see mine in there as well, and Shane as well. Thank you, Shane. Opening up the survey, internally, I'm logged into my 365 account. And you'll see that the survey pops open. I don't have a submit button, but I can see how they filled out the survey. So I could go back and take a look at the library and see how you fill out the survey. Now, ideally, you'd want to take the questions and map them to a separate list and do some kind of Power BI or whatever. But for the purpose of this demo, we didn't add that last step. The mapping to a list is very easy with thanks Shane for doing that. It's very easy to map to a list with FormsViewer just using the submit to SharePoint list command, and you can actually do that all in the browser. So that would be a next step to add. So, so Lynn, I'm sorry that the demo didn't work for you. It may be that we didn't highlight the box, but if it's right in the middle, maybe you can press it, or maybe you can't. But I'm sorry about that. Hopefully we'll fix that. We tested it on a smartphone, an iPhone. I'm guessing you have an iPhone, so it may just be that it doesn't seem like it's there, but if you click on it with your finger, it might show up and give you a flashing cursor. We could probably improve the form to make it more visible. I'm sorry about that. Or you could just use your desktop for now, and it should be more readily apparent. There are some things that we need to do differently on the smartphones, and like highlighting the fields is a good one. So any questions for me? Really excited about this new pattern. We'll probably be removing the DBXL requirement in the near future. We may even do the webinar again in September. We do have 2 webinars coming up in August. We're going to continue down this path of Power Apps. Power Apps is finally real. I went to the Microsoft Biz Apps conference in Seattle last month, and there's a huge amount of enthusiasm for Power Apps. Power Apps is finally viable. We've been looking at Power Apps now for many, many years. We've been helping customers build Power Apps. As a consulting company, we take any tool that we can and use it. The benefit of Power Apps is that it's part of your 365 license. So for those of you with 365, you get it. It's great for small and medium-sized forms that are new. If you have an existing complex InfoPath form, you're going to spend hundreds of hours moving it to Power Apps. Better just to use FormsViewer because it's such a simple thing. And we've extended FormsViewer to add some of these features that Power Apps has. Plus, you get external access, which you don't get with Power Apps. For Power Apps, you do need a 365 license. But we've been doing a lot of apps for people. It's very, it's finally totally, viable in terms of the solutions you can build. And we'll be presenting, Mel Clemente will be presenting how to do offline caching, and that's going to be next week, hopefully. And then at the end of the month, we get customers that use FormsViewer and they have a lot of validation rules in their form. The validation rule is a little bit different. So here's our form in the designer, the form for the survey. This is a nice data-driven form. You can see that the questions are just this one section. We're using default values to put all the questions in here so we can easily change them without changing our schema. So this is a good design practice. But just to show you the validation logic, you have this ability here to add these three types of rules: formatting, action, and validation. If it's a text field like this here, and it's in the main data source. That's important. Do we have anything in the main data source? We should. This checkbox here. You can add validation logic to this. And we don't currently support validation rules because they're not very common. But we do get customers from time to time that use this, and there is a workaround. The workaround is to change it to formatting, and then you add some validation text into your form. And this form actually has validation text built into it because it is our starter form we started from. And we've talked about that. We have documentation in the starter form that shows you how to do it. But we're going to be looking at it again. We have a tool that will be converting your validation rules to make it easier. And Jimmy, hopefully, will be talking about that on August 30th. And then we're going to be doing a whole slew of new webinars in September and October. We are planning to get FormsViewer 3.2 out the door by the end of August. That is a huge goal of ours. So we'll probably be doing a webinar at the beginning of September on that. And new features, talk about what's new. You'll see the update come out. Any questions from me? It looks like, let's see here. Mark, thanks for chiming in there that it worked for you on your Samsung. I'm glad to hear that. And Lynn, maybe I'll call you up after the webinar and we'll figure out why it didn't work for you. But I want to thank everyone for being here today. We have recorded this. Like I said, we will fuzz out your email addresses for privacy reasons, so don't worry about that. And if you have any questions whatsoever, please let me know. There is a short survey that's part of GoToWebinar that you can fill out if you want to. We'll send you the package anyway because you filled out the survey during the demo. And thanks for being here. I hope you have a great day. Take care.